This is Diana Sullivan in Austin, Texas, and this is going to be the last of the garter bar videos, at least in this set. Now this isn't so much geared for beginners because I haven't done the ribber lessons yet, and yet here I am with a video on how to use the garter bar with the ribber. And what I want to do is I want to transfer these ribber stitches up to the main bed of the machine, and I'm here at the bulky 270 to Brother machine. This is going to vary from machine to machine. It was certainly different between this machine with the bulky garter bar and my standard machine with the regular garter bar. Now the first thing I think that needs to be done to accomplish this is I had two of these large ribber weights on the bottom of the knitting, and those are going to come off. Instead, I'm going to put a single small weight on the bottom of the knitting. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push the ribber stitches up. That opened the latches on all of the ribber stitches, and it made it fairly easy for me to set the garter bar over the hooks of all the needles. And one of the things that I want to point out is that I did this with the grooves on the back and the bumps up. So the bumps are on this side of the garter bar. Then the next thing to do is to bring the ribber down a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm lowering the ribber by one click. And now the ribber is down by one click. Then what I'm going to do is just push all of the needle butts down using the other half of the garter bar. Now this is only using a half a garter bar, so if your stitches are all the way across, this isn't going to work as well. Now on this particular machine, the garter bar will go right down in between the gate pegs. On a machine where it won't, then the way this is done is going to be a little bit different. So anyway, I'm just kind of leaning the garter bar forward so that it doesn't catch on the upper gate pegs, and I can get it all the way down and get the knitting on it. And then I just sort of push it down so that the latches opened and it came loose from the needles. And then I plop it up here. It actually braces under the lip of this needle bed really well. Now I said I was grooves up. I was grooves up for this reason. I'm going to get under these stitches with the other garter bar. So I just poke the garter bar in here under the stitches. Now let me pull this garter bar out now. Get my fingers on it. Now I have the garter bars. I have both garter bars in all of these stitches, and then I'm just going to kind of gently work the one on top out. So this is really nice. I have the bottom garter bar in all of the stitches and pretty much ready to hang needles. I'm just going to drop the ribber again. Okay, so now I'm ready to hang needles, and I need to bring needles out if I want to hang. So I've brought needles out, and I need to have open latches. So I've got my credit card here. I need open latches and even needles. Let's get those even. Run across. Get all the latches open. They don't look very even to me, so I'm going to use that other garter bar and even those up. Here's one that's not out. And then I'm just setting the garter bar. Now I need to have a look first that my stitches are on the right needles. Just setting the garter bar in the hooks, and as you might expect, popping the stitches right on. So this was done one way on this machine. It'll be done a little differently on the other machine. So I'm going to need to film that too. Hello, here I am at the standard machine, and I'm going to do the same maneuver. Again, I have some 1x1 ribbing, and I need to move these individual ribber stitches up to the main bed so that I can proceed. The first step will be to bring the needles out to hold position. This would be the ribber needles only. The second step will be to lower the ribber bed. Now I promised this was a little different than it was on the other machine. Well, the difference here is that this garter bar is too wide to go between the gate pegs. On that other one I could go between the gate pegs. So on this one I have to have the ribber lowered a little bit so that I can pull the needles down enough to get all of the stitches onto the garter bar. Also, just like the other one I demonstrated, you want the bumps towards you and you want the grooves in the back. So I'm just going to set this on all of these stitches, and I've got them all, and I'm pulling up a little bit just to make sure I have them all. And all of these stitches are behind the latch. Then what I'm going to do is move down the needle butts with the other garter bar, using it as a big pusher. Now, do you see that all of these stitches have transferred onto the garter bar? Then I can just tuck up and down a little, and these guys pop right on the garter bar, and the garter bar braces right against the needle bed. With this particular machine, the reason that the garter bar braced there is that there is a lip on the needle bed, and I slid it under. And you can see that the stitch I just transferred is somewhat enlarged on the bottom because it's being stretched upward by the way I have that braced. So now I can come along with my second garter bar, and I can poke all of these pointed tips of the eyelets into the grooves, because remember, grooves were down, and I just sort of poke that in there. I'm not sure. It's pretty easy though to try again. So let me poke that in there. They're good. They're in good. Then I'm holding them together and actually pushing them together. Now, as long as my bottom garter bar is pushed up, I can lift the top garter bar out and not lose stitches. So now I have all my stitches securely on this garter bar. And I'm going to drop the ribber out of the way. Move the ribber needles out of the way. And now my situation is that I have all these stitches parked on the garter bar. Remember I was talking about parking? See, with this machine, if I slip in between the gate pegs, the garter bar will just hang there. Okay, so what I'm going to do at this point is bring the needles out so that I can put the stitches on the garter bar. So let me get a needle pusher and select the needles. And then I need to bring everything out past the edge of those gate pegs. So on out to hold would be the thing to do. And all of the latches need to be open. And I'm just going to run along with my pusher and make sure they're open. My credit card would have been better, but it was in the other room with bulky machine. So I have now lined up the garter bars so that I have all the stitches on the needles where they are going to belong, and then I can just pop my stitches on, and there I've done it. I have done my transfer so that I'm ready to begin my knitting of the remainder of the garment. Now I just wanted to point out that I find that I tend to drop a stitch here and there, so you do need to make an inspection and fix anything like that you see. That's how to do it on the standard machine.